Right, I think I'm recording. Firstly, thank you so much to Kirsty Perrin, who is not only a TEDx talker, she's going to be here talking to us live now. So I want to say a massive thank you, and I've been so excited about this interview because I am a massive mindset geek. I think it's fascinating. So anything that you can teach us will be amazing.
Well, we talked about COVID-19. Should we start there?
Yeah, definitely, because I think this 2020 has been a massively strange year already, hasn't it? I keep thinking nothing else can happen and then something else happens. But I think with the schools and everything else like that, it's going to have, I probably think it's going to be impacting kids for years to come.
Yeah, the legacy of this is going to go on. And I think it's quite a worrying thought if we allow it to. I mean, if you think we started this year, I mean, for instance, one of my sisters was 40 this year. So she started the year full of all these plans, you know, she's going to be 40, she's going to have a big celebration, it's a big milestone birthday. She was starting a savings plan to take her husband and kids on holiday, I think it was in 2022. You know, really excited about all these things she was going to achieve. She kind of got a bit of a list for herself. All of that blown out of the water. You know, the savings plan's gone to pot because her husband hasn't been able to work. We work together, she and I, and the training program's all put on hold. So what does that do to someone when you have these hopes and dreams and your year, we're halfway through it already and it's still not going to carry on as normal. I know we've got lockdown easing, which is coming into place from the 4th, but how do you get your mindset around that? You've got people who've been furloughed, you've got people who've been made redundant, businesses have not worked out, and then you've got all the young people. So you've got the ones who are GCSEs and A-levels. They've been working really hard for 2 years. This has been this GCSE A-level at the end of 2 years. They have worked so hard for this. That has been their tunnel vision for a lot of them. I know some of them don't put so much importance on it, but that's been the track they've been on for so many.
I think for that year as well, like my girls are in year 7 and they're already planning their prom dress. They're already planning how they're going to get to the prom. So yeah. I think that's probably the year that maybe it's not lost a year of their life clearly, but they've lost some important time. The prom, their exams, you know, everything really.
Yeah, I mean, my eldest is in year 9, and she's her whole thing about braces is the rippling out of this is just you've got the really massive things like, you know, there's been bereavement and people can't go to funerals. There's been people who are ill with COVID and their loved ones can't be with them. Right down to the really small things which people might call minor things in life, but to that person, my eldest is already saying, well, I'm going to be wearing a brace for my prom then, aren't I? Because if I haven't got it now and everything's on hold. And I thought, I don't want to negate that and say, really, is that something to worry about? Because it's just as you say, they're planning their prom years in advance. Yeah. And already, you know, that's been taken away from them. They don't know what results they're going to get. Maybe they're a late night crammer. Maybe they're a last minute crammer. And they were going to really go for those exams last minute. And they've not done so well in their mocks. And that's been taken away from them. That opportunity to prove what they can do has been taken away from them. And I think there's so much that has been put on hold. I think a lot of people feel like their life has been put on pause during lockdown. And I think your mindset is so incredibly important all of the time, but especially in times like now. And I think it's interesting to see how different people have responded to what's been going on. There's been some people who've felt safe at home. If they don't need to go out and work, they can work from home, or they've been furloughed, they've felt safe at home. And they've maybe enjoyed that time at home. They have started amazing fitness regimes and healthy eating plans, because that for them is their sense of control in all of this, because there is not a lot we can control right now. I can't control my hair on a daily basis. So, you know, if you can have some kind of control, whether it's, you know, feeling fitter and healthier, some people have worked a lot on their mindset, but then there are other people who've just felt fearful, they've felt anxious. Maybe they've had, they've got an illness where they need to shield. And they feel that they're just out of control. They feel like there's just no control in all of this. And then coming out of lockdown easing, you've got the people who maybe have felt very much in control by doing all these things to help themselves, but now they're like, you made us build this haven really quickly for ourselves. You almost instilled fear on us and said, don't go out. And now you're saying, come out. I don't want to come out. I've built myself a fortress. Thank you very much. You've got those same people that were anxious and fearful are going, no, I've got my delivery sussed. I've got this whole thing. I'm staying here. And the only thing that is going to get them out is this, because that fortress is actually going to become a prison, because they're worried about, you know, all the changes. You've got the young people who maybe have immersed themselves in social media, and those algorithms, whatever they're searching for, are chucking all sorts at them. I mean, mine come downstairs and say, well, did you know this? Because it's on Instagram, it's not necessarily true. No, this was on TikTok. Oh, well, it must be true then. And it's, you know, we can all watch the news, can't we? And we can totally immerse ourselves in it. And
I think that's actually a really important thing, because the amount of propaganda, is that the right word, that I keep seeing on social media, and you know it's a blatant lie.
Fake news.
Because people are in crisis, and because people are feeling that insecurity and that anxiety, they kind of want to believe, or they are believing everything they read, which in effect creates more anxiety. So what impact, obviously parents have a lot of effect on their children. So if parents are in crisis and suffering that anxiety, what impact is that likely to have on their children?
Well, the kids, our children are like sponges, aren't they? And they will just, we're their role models. And it's a tough gig as a parent. You know, we're not given a handbook. Well, you are. You can get what to expect when you're expecting and what to expect in toddlers and all those books. But it's an easy game from the touchline until you're in it. No matter, you know, people can tell you all the stuff, can't they? But until you're in it, and you've got to be the grown-up, and you've got to wear your big girl pants and your big boy pants. And if you feel like you want to crumble or hide under your duvet, they're watching. They're watching exactly what you're doing. And you gave the example the other week of you were out on a walk and on a country lane, and you gave this woman a wide berth, because that's what we all do at the minute. But this woman was with her kids and obviously didn't think that you gave enough space. And she said, don't go near that woman. She'll kill you with the virus.
Yeah, she crossed the road and she said to her kids, you can't go next to that woman because you'll die. And I just thought, oh my word, like, what are her kids going to be thinking about this now? And it's kind of like, it is part of life. It is here. So I think it's massively, I think the time that you've spent at home in lockdown is going to have a massive impact on how your children come out of this. Because for me, if you've kind of made it fun, you've made it a safe environment, you've made it like, well, we're learning, it's going to be very different to if you spend your life glued to the news and glued to social media thinking that that's it, the world's finished sort of thing.
Yeah. If we have a kind of an Armageddon attitude about the whole thing, that we're doomed, and, you know, the minute we step, I mean, it's almost as if at the beginning we were kind of not led to believe, but it almost felt like this thing was airborne, in that if it touched the air touched you and you were going to get it, because it was like, don't come out of your house. Don't travel anywhere apart from essential travel, and you can do one bit of walking, but don't talk to anyone. And, you know, we do-si-do around everyone, don't we, when we're on a walk, like you did this woman, but that wasn't enough. And we can really fill our heads with fear, and yes, we need to be careful. But as we're coming out of lockdown, I think our mindset is so important. And even if, you know, you're thinking right now, yeah, maybe in lockdown I was really anxious, maybe the kids will watch that, you can from now on, from this point, model different behaviour that you feel is going to help them more. And I think it's really important to think about the way you're thinking. So it's not just what you're thinking about, it's the way you're thinking about it. So if you're thinking about COVID, what are your thoughts around it? Are you thinking, you know, the world's going to end, we're all going to get it, you know, I'm fearful of it, I'm anxious of it, life will never be normal again. Okay, there'll be a new normal. That we've already had to get used to a new normal, haven't we? And a lot of people have adapted pretty well to that. But we've known that this is going to gradually change, and it is starting to change. And the 4th of July are big changes. But like me, I got the call from my hairdresser. It's a thing. People are on Facebook going, have you had the call? I'm there. I'm in on the 6th. I can't wait. I know that other people, no, I'm all right, thanks. I'll grow a mullet, or I don't care if I've got two-tone fiesta hair. I'm saying welcome, and I get that. And it's not about invalidating any feelings that people have, because there's a difference between emotions and feelings. Your emotion is, you're frightened, you're scared. The feeling is the gut feeling that you have. You're sweating. Your throat goes tight. Those feelings shouldn't be invalidated, because they're equally important. So what's important is to recognize when you're getting those feelings and to think, right, what am I frightened about? Obviously, COVID-19 is the big overarching thing. But how am I thinking about this? And I watched a really good TED talk the other day by a lady called Lucy Hone, she lost her 12-year-old daughter in a car crash. So if anyone can talk about resilience, this woman can. And she talked about how her mindset has helped her hugely. And I'll listen to someone like her who, my God, if anyone's had to use their mindset. And she said, the question I ask myself is, are my thoughts helping or hindering me? And I think that's a really powerful question.
Yeah.
To ask yourself, are my thoughts helping or hindering me? And we can take ourselves off into very dark places. We can spiral out of control with the way we choose to think about things. And like I say, there's very little we can control in life. Certainly in COVID-19, we might feel there's not a lot we can control. But the one thing we can control is the way we choose to think about it. And we can become really brave and really bold with our thoughts, because they will lead to our feelings, and those feelings will be our behaviour and the habits we build. So if our thoughts so far haven't served us well, if we feel that we're looking at our children and maybe it's OCD, I think a lot of people have either their OCD's got worse during this time, or it's manifested OCD. It's been manifested in OCD. And if you recognise that in your children, what can you do to help them? And it's about recognising the thoughts, the feelings, they're all valid, and then it's about reframing them. It's doing something to shift it. So if you're feeling worried and fearful, maybe you've had online shops throughout all this, and you're now going to go out to the supermarket. You need to think about, okay, I'm feeling really, really scared. I'm feeling really frightened. Right, okay, why am I feeling like this? Because I'm going to the supermarket. Why am I going to the supermarket? Because I feel like I need to get myself out there. So what can you do? Reframe the way you think about it. It's baby steps. I'm just going to go in. Maybe I'm just going to go in the door, and I'm just going to look, and I'm going to watch what's going on. And I did that the other day. I haven't been to a supermarket throughout the whole of lockdown. I thought, I'm going to go. Why did I go? To get Father's Day things, because Amazon hadn't delivered. So my need overrode my emotions of, not been out for a while. What's this going to be like then, Kirsty? Another thought to ourselves is, that's interesting. Why are you thinking like that? You feel those fears. Why are you thinking like that? Just stop. Why am I thinking like that? Well, I suppose it's because I haven't been out for a while, because I've been keeping myself safe. But do you want to stay like this all the time? No, I don't. Do you intend to stay like this forever? No, I don't. Right, well, let's go. So mask in hand, I stood outside the shop. Hadn't been to a supermarket throughout this. Very interesting. Lady side-eyeing me like this. Why is she looking like that at me? She's like that. And I realised I was too close to her, because I was looking over her shoulder at what was going on, what the procedure was to get in the shop. And she was thinking, true British, we don't say anything, do we? We either do a loud, sort of Victoria Wood used to say,
yeah,
or she's like this. So I thought, oh God. So I stepped back. Then I was worried I was stepping back into the person behind me, space bubble, I thought, oh God. So it's really important in those instances when we're feeling that fear, we're feeling frightened, we're feeling anxious, is to recognise it, process it, realise why you're feeling like it, then reframe it. Sometimes that means just physically moving yourself, going out for a walk, doing a bit of exercise, ringing up a friend, watching something funny, listening to some music, come back. Very often we're thinking about it different, we've had a different perspective, and then it's regaining the control.
It's stepping out your comfort zone, isn't it? I'm a massive believer in the gift of fear, and I'm a massive believer in fear. Stepping out your comfort zone will enable you to process. But I think, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I also think that a lot of worry and stress and anxiety is caused by not making decisions. But I've seen so many things on Facebook, obviously, when they announced the schools were open. Oh, well, I don't want my kids going to school. And well, just don't send them. You know, make a decision. I think sometimes it is about taking responsibility for your own actions and your family. And once you've made a decision in your head, that relieves all the anxiety. And but I think it's getting to a point of, and especially for kids, if they can't make a decision, I think it's important for parents to help them make that decision or a decision, because that sort of alleviates it. And it's interesting you talk about baby steps, because I'm a massive fan of Ant Middleton. Have you seen the SAS guy? And he talks in his book, he talks about a fear bubble. So it talks about when he was, in Afghanistan or wherever he was, he would put himself in a bubble and he would just think about, okay, my bubble is getting to that door. Once I'm at the door, my next bubble is getting through that door. And then my next bubble is this, rather than thinking of it, like you said, going to
in its entirety.
Yeah, because I think that overwhelms.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the importance of breaking it down so your mind can just deal with little bits at a time.
Yeah.
You could have quite easily started to panic in the queue when you realised you were too close, and then it's kind of like, if you let it overwhelm you, it takes over, I guess.
Yeah. And I think for me it was stand at the door, watch what they're doing. Oh, I see. Oh, this is what we do. Because I was like, what do they do? Do they sanitize everything? Was I supposed to bring my own? Was I supposed to have a pocket? Do we have to wear a mask? Does everybody wear a mask? Where do I put my mask if I don't want to wear it? And then I was watching that, and of course I was getting quite involved watching over that woman's shoulder, and then realising I was getting too close. And then it's like, when we get in the shop, are there 2 metre signs on the floor? Do I have to follow arrows? Oh, I don't have to follow arrows in this supermarket. I know the other one my husband went in, you did. Okay, now I'm getting all my stuff. Where do I need? Oh yes. When you open doors, what do you have to do? So I thought, oh, well, I'll just use my shirt. So I just opened the door like that. But because when you leave, there was no hand sanitizer, interestingly, so I just used some in the car. But it's just those baby steps so that you don't feel so overwhelmed with everything. Because, COVID, we talk about on the program, the Winning Edge program, that COVID-19, so there are what we call lighthouses in life. Lighthouses are things we can do nothing about. So just as vessels on the water, there's a lighthouse. You can't tell the lighthouse to move. You've got to navigate around it. You've got to change your course. So COVID-19, there aren't many lighthouses in life because there are things we can change, but we just perhaps choose not to. But, so lighthouses are the passing of time. People who berate the fact that they're coming up to a milestone birthday, what's the point? You're going to reach the milestone.
It's going to happen, yeah.
So why are you whining and moaning about it and I'm going to be 50, oh my God. Well, it's going to happen. So, or the weather. People, my sister was getting married and a few years ago, and my stepmom was like, oh, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's going to be an awful day. It's going to be awful because it's going to rain. Well, it's not going to be an awful day. It's just going to rain. It's not going to be the day we hoped it would be, but we'll just go on to good old Amazon and we'll order some clear parasol or umbrellas and we'll have them ready. And it turned out it flipped to be 27 degrees. And everyone was like this, because they were so hot.
But it's so true, isn't it? You could quite easily become focused on the weather, and then you pause. It's like, this is the best day of my life, and I'm already going into it with a negative mindset that it's going to be the worst day ever because it's going to rain.
Yeah. How many people open the curtains in the morning and decide what their day is going to be like based on the weather? Oh, it's raining. Well, it's going to be an awful day. Whereas a farmer would open the curtains and go, oh my God, thank goodness for that. It's raining. It's all about perspective, and it all depends, all our decisions every single day, all our choices are all based on our values and the way we choose to think about something. And you can have the best day ever if you've decided it's going to be. Now, don't get me wrong, things happen to us, COVID-19, that we don't choose to happen, but we still get to choose the way we think about it. Katie Piper's been on our program. She was already an amazing human being with her mental attitude. She's the one that had the acid thrown in her face. Beautiful girl, aspiring model, was a model and aspiring television presenter. So her looks that was her career. So life as she knew it, how she thought, was over. But she decided over time that the way she chose to think about it would change her results. And she decided, this was before, you know, we can't talk about before she was on the programme, but so much of what we talked about, she said, resonated with where she'd come in life, was because she said so much had already been taken away from her that she refused to be defined by it. So she changed the way she chose to think about what happened. She decided she had different thoughts about her future. She decided, so that therefore meant she had different emotions. So she felt braver, she felt more courageous, which meant her behaviour changed. She stopped cowering in the footwell of her dad's car when they drove to her hospital appointments. She said to him one day, let's drop off at the pub and have a Coke on the way home. And he said, really? She said, yeah. He said, okay, worrying about how she was sort of prepared for that. People stared at her, but she got her head around, I know people are going to do that. I look sort of different to people. So then her habits started changing. And if she hadn't have changed the way she felt about what happened to her, she wouldn't have the Katie Piper Foundation. She wouldn't be married with 2 children, because she said life for her was going to be staying at her parents' house forever and hiding behind curtains. So if someone like Katie can change the way they view what's happened to them, I think we can change the way we view COVID-19. We can change the way we choose to think about our onward path, you know, going outside and the changing restrictions. I totally agree that it can feel very anxiety inducing in the way people are worried about catching the virus, and I'm not being blithe about that at all, or blasé. But if we keep ourselves safe and we control this, then that's the part we can play in all of this, I think.
And stop believing social media. And I think that's really important for parents it's an important lesson for parents to teach their kids that actually you've got to get your facts straight before you overreact or before you start letting things affect you, because so much of social media, and we keep saying it at work all the time, especially because obviously the police are having such a bad time at the minute, and rightly so in a way, but at the same time, if you believe everything you read on social media will end up being consumed by it, and it will end up defining who you are and your decisions and your values. And I think for me, I always sort of teach, you know, and I've said in the group before, it's important to sit down with your kids and actually write your values down and what you believe in, because for me, everything stems back to your values.
It does.
And I know we've spoken about this before, but I think if your kids have got the right values and understand and know what's important to them, then they will refer back to them forevermore.
They will.
And values may change, you know, as you grow up. But I think it's important to realise that not everyone's got the same values. And I know when COVID first hit, so many people were judging each other, and it was getting quite malicious and quite horrible. It was a horrible place to be. And I said on the group the other day, I had a weekend off social media because I can't be doing with all the lies and the negativity. And I think it can start to affect you, and you can get quite drawn into it. But I think especially with COVID, there were so many people being mean to each other, and I think it's an important lesson. You can either get drawn into that or say, hang on a minute, kids, look what's going on. This is not the way to behave, and this is not how you conduct yourselves. Remember your values, you know. Do you know what I mean? It kind of goes
absolutely. Values, we make all our choices and decisions based on our values. From what can of beans we buy, you know, we go in the shop, what can of beans do I get? The cheaper version because they're just an accompaniment to a cooked breakfast, or do I spend a bit more money and I get Heinz or whatever, Cross and Blackwell, because I really love beans on toast and it's a nice lunch I like, and if I get the cheap version I know it tastes a bit naff, or I'm saving my money and the cheaper version will be perfectly fine, thank you very much, I'm not really bothered about the taste. Right to buying a car, you know, I really value the environment, it's something really important to me, so I'm going to look at an electric car. They're quite expensive. Actually, money's important to me in terms of making it go a long way, so I'll look at a hybrid car. Every single decision we make, you know, what time we decide to get up in the morning, I really value seizing the day, and I really want to get a load of stuff done before the kids get up. So do you know what? I'm going to get up. I choose to get up earlier because I value my own headspace and I value getting stuff done before the kids. Every single thing we do. And going back to what you were saying about social media, Well, I've got a Facebook group called Mindset Game Changers, and a really important thing that I get across, and we get across on our program is, and it's so important for young people, children, young people to understand this, is that nobody can make us feel anything. They cannot make us feel anything. Nobody has that power. What they do or say, we might find hurtful or upsetting, or we might feel angry, but they cannot make us feel anything. It's not possible, because if they could, what they said would have the same effect on everyone else. The only way it can have an effect is if we choose it to. Now, again, you know, one of my children was really upset the other day, and I said, because somebody, I don't know, messaged or something, and I said to her, and you have to be really careful when you put this to them, but it's so powerful. And I said, I know what she did was really, you found really upsetting, but don't give her that power, because you are donating the power to them. And we have what we call an external and internal locus of control. And if you feel that everything is being done to you and you are just reacting, then you're donating your control to an external force. If you take on board and realize that everything is down to you, the way you respond, you might find it upsetting. And don't get me wrong, people have a responsibility to act in a way that we do not find upsetting. But does everyone do that? No, they do. They say awful things. But we can choose the way we respond. And just like you said, I took myself off social media. That's your choice. You chose to control your response by just shutting it down, or you just scroll through it, or you unfollow people, or you unfriend people. But the trouble is, and we did this in one of the TEDx talks we did, Are You Worthy of Happiness? And there was 3 generations, my dad, myself, and my daughter, she was 12. She talked about social media, and she said it's so important for young people to understand that nobody can make us feel anything. And if we understand that, we take the control back. And we've worked with anti-bullying charities to help. And bullying is just a dreadful, awful thing. But usually the bully is someone that's trying to take back control themselves, aren't they? Because
definitely. There's always a reason behind bullying, and we were saying that, you know, the other week, and that sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think COVID-19 cannot make us feel anything. If we've been made redundant in COVID-19, if we've been furloughed, we choose our response. And yes, it is a challenging time. It is a scary time. All those emotions are valid. And that's why 2 key words are important: over time. So our initial response is, we're frightened, we're scared, we want to wallow in it, we want to, you know, just lament about it, but don't build a monument to it. Over time, what can I do now what's my path forward? You know, awful things happen, like Katie Piper. She needed to find a new normal for herself. She found a new normal. She couldn't change what had happened, so she found a new normal. And I think it's really important if young people can understand that they have the control. What people do and say they find upsetting, it's not about saying, oh, but that didn't upset you. It did. They found it upsetting, but take back the control. Don't give it to them.
And I think that's important for, because I was talking to, I can't remember someone the other day, and we were saying, you know, once you've been a victim of something, you tend to feel victimized all the time. And I think it is just changing that mindset and thinking, you know what, bad stuff happens to everyone. There is so many people on furlough. There were so many people that are in a worse position than you because having the homes repossessed or this or that or the other. There is always someone worse off than you. But I think it's just reframing that mindset, isn't it? And thinking, actually, I'm overreacting with this. Let me control what I can in my control, and stuff that I can't control, I've just got to go with. You know, if people don't want to go to the hairdressers, don't go to the hairdressers. You know, you don't have to. Like you say, everyone makes a choice on what they want to do coming out of lockdown. If you don't want to send your kids to school, don't send your kids to school.
Exactly. You know? But don't be angry with those that do send them to school or make judgments, because, you know, we can be really judgy about people, but they've made a different decision. As long as those actions are not hurting others or harming others, you know, let's just all control what we can control. I think the serenity prayer is really important. God grant me, I've got to read it, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And if we all lived by that and stopped spiraling out of control about the things we can't control. And another good thing to think about is, will I worry about this next week? Will I worry about this next month? Will I worry about this next year? Will I worry about this in 5 years? So if the answer is no, why on earth am I donating all of this worry right now to this? And for, you know, like you said, people have had hugely challenging things happen to them right now. But for the person that will have lost their job and is, you know, or they're thinking, well, now we're just in a downward spiral now, aren't we? This is awful. Everything's going to go wrong from here. There's the person that lost their job and is on the internet. They're making opportunities for themselves. You know, people think successful people, it was easy, but, you know, or that people are lucky. But we say that luck is where opportunity and preparedness meet. If you're out there doing it and making your luck, that's how you're going to be. You're going to be successful and do well, because you're using this. And we've all got this, but it's just the way we choose to do it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because you can see all these pop-up businesses coming left, right, and centre. You know, delivering sweets, or our local butcher's decided, okay, well, if you can't come to us to get meat, we're going to bring meat to you. Yeah. And you just think, wow. I mean, there is a way around everything, and I think it's hard to see that sometimes, because you do tend to see the negative. Your brain will obviously go to the negative rather than positive. You know, I always say you can go to a restaurant 5 times, you'll have 4 amazing meals and 1 bad meal, but if someone asks you about it, you will always go to the last time I went, it wasn't that great. But you think, well, you've had 4 other times that's been amazing, why do you focus on the negative? But that's what your brain does.
Yeah. And when we have those challenges, we are going to, it will feel scary. We will, you know, go to dark places, but that's when give yourself time, recognize how you're feeling. Is this helping me, or is this hindering me? Process it. Pair it right back to the thoughts you're having about it, because we'll always have a thought first and then an emotion. And then it's about reframing it. If that means removing yourself from that headspace, just going off and doing something completely different, because, you know, very often if we're worried about something, we go to sleep and we're thinking about it. Sometimes when we wake up, we've got the answer to it. And then it's about, when we've reframed it, gain some perspective on it, you take back control. And I think, that our mindset, especially in times like now, is completely crucial, because it can work for us or it can work against us, but our thoughts are just our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. People think that they fly in our head, but we can say, oh, hang on a minute, and you can train your brain rather than let it run you. You can run your brain, but a lot of people just think, oh, well, that's just the way my head works. No. Unless you have clinical depression, that's a different thing. You need medication, you need a lot of support. But, it takes hard work. It's exactly as you say, it's easier to be miserable. It takes hard work, and it doesn't mean to say you're going to be 100% successful with the outcomes, but you're stacking the cards much more in your favour if you expect that you're going to find the answer, you're going to be solution orientated, you're going to be resilient, you're going to far more likely to be able to make it work for you.
Yeah, I think to be fair, and I don't mean any offence by this to anyone, but I think sometimes we are so quick to box people. And I said this to you the other day, you know, it's kind of like once you've had a baby, that's it, you've got postnatal depression. And it's like, hang on a minute, you're sleep deprived, your body's been through 9 months of emotions at the start, and you're coming out of this, you are absolutely exhausted. You know, sleep deprivation is a massive thing alone, without a newborn baby and everything like that. Same with depression, anxiety. I think because doctors have to almost tick a result off, we just think, okay, give them medication. But there's so many different types of depression, and there's only so many tablets that you get, and it's kind of like, well, it's not one size fits all. So I think for me, I would massively advise people to go down the mindset route, just to see if that works, because what you don't want to do is mix more emotions and more chemical reactions in your body with drugs that you don't know whether they're going to work or not, without working on your mind. And yes, it's going to be hard work. I mean, no, you can't change your mindset. It's like a diet, isn't it? Everyone says, right, I
Yeah,
want to lose weight, but because I've not lost weight overnight, that's it. It's too hard. I'm giving up.
yeah.
But it's kind of like, no, you've got to change that. Like you say habit. Does it take about 14 weeks to change your habit?
They say it takes 21 to 56 days, and it's not willpower, because that willpower is when you're making yourself do something. It's self-discipline. Willpower is why gyms are busy January to March, and then they turn into a bistro after that. Self-discipline is what you need, and you know, when a lot of people, if they have anxiety, etc., they take tablets. That's what we call wearing rubber gloves to cure a leaky pen. It's just masking things. It's not getting to the root of what is wrong. And it could be bereavement. It could be someone I know was on them because her sons were growing older and she couldn't cope with the fact they were going to fly the nest. It's that empty nest syndrome. And she was on tablets for that. And I thought, but you can help yourself. We've had people who've come on our program. I read an email the other day and he said, this is literally life-changing, and I mean life-changing. He said, I was suicidal. And he said, and I came on your course and I realised I can make my mindset work for me. Now, if someone's on the brink of that, and he possibly had already tried it, then that just shows how powerful, if you work on your mindset, it can be. It is astounding the effect our thoughts can have.
Yeah.
And yet so many people think that they're just in their heads and there's nothing they can do about it. And you're right, it takes work. I mean, my dad started this company 36 years ago and he says he's still an apprentice in this. You know, you're still learning. Self-improvement is a work in progress. You know, I think Zig Ziglar said once, he's a motivational speaker, like bathing, bathing is recommended daily, as is motivation, or something like that. You know, it's something we work on every single day. You know, we say 15 minutes a day, think about what your values are, make sure they're in check, because like you say, they change over time. My values aren't the same as when I was 20. You know, I wouldn't feel really strongly about a local primary school closing in my 20s. I think that wasn't good, but now I'm a mother with children. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. You know, what's going on? Where's their funding? So our values change. So it's about every day, keep in check your values, your decisions and choices you're making. Do you feel happy with them? If not, check in with your values. Where's that stemming from, your unhappiness or uneasiness? Have your affirmations. So assumptive affirmations. So when I say assumptive, I mean, I am enjoying feeling fitter and stronger every single day. So that's my affirmation. Every day I feel fitter and stronger physically, mentally, emotionally. And if I don't want to get up and do a Joe Wicks, I say that to myself and I think, yeah, no, I do. So let's go and do it. Because if you're saying it and it's saying it's happening now, part of your brain says, but we don't feel like that, so I better do something to make it so. So it's those affirmations that you eyeball yourself in the mirror every day, and you feel a bit of an idiot when you start doing it. I like to do it after I clean my teeth, because that's twice a day. Hopefully everyone cleans their teeth twice a day. Maybe in lockdown maybe in lockdown we've all got a bit lazy. But it's visualization's a really powerful tool. Say you're really anxious about going to the supermarket after lockdown, you build up a mental movie in your head using all 5 senses. And you can encourage kids to do this when they start school in September, if they're not at school at the moment. They know the school, or maybe it's a new school, but hopefully they've looked around it so they know what it looks like. And, you know, so smell, you know what schools smell like? They've all got that disinfectant or smelly gym smell. They're walking towards the school, they're feeling okay about it, they're feeling calm, they may be holding a bottle of water, they can feel the touch of the bottle, they take a sip, they're feeling really calm about it, they're hearing all the chatter going on around them. I can't remember if we use all 5 senses, but oh yes, I think I have. So they're building up that mental movie and they're seeing themselves walking into the school and they feel okay. Feel okay about this. This is going to be okay. Or you see yourself going in the supermarket, you see the hand sanitizer, you see the 2 meter signs, you're holding your trolley, you're pushing it, you can smell the pizzas being made. You've got your water because you're just a bit thirsty and you're walking around and you're seeing it and you're visualizing feeling fine. And if your subconscious brain does not know the difference between a real or a vividly imagined event, so if you replay that mental movie again and again and again, perhaps when you're going to sleep or just before you get up in the morning, when you finally come to do that, go to the supermarket, start school, oh, I've done this already, haven't I? It feels natural. And that's why top sports people do it. They visualize the game. Now, they don't know exactly how it's going to go, but they visualize. I don't know, in tennis, Murray's had a really intensive rally and he's starting to feel tired, but he imagines he's got the mental resources, he's got the physical resources to pull on and get through it. And he hits that shot back. This is what top sports people use, their mindset. So you can use that to help you. So you've got your assumptive affirmations, your visualization, keep in check with your values, have a sense of purpose, have a goal. A lot of people suffer from dis-ease, not disease. A lot of ailments, and a lot of people are poorly because they just have no sense of purpose in life, and they're bored and there's nothing else to think about. Whereas if you every night think about, what do I want to achieve? What's my life about? Because we only get one, don't we? What are we doing with it? We're just going to worry all the time and feel scared and anxious and keep our world small? Or are we going to think, okay, the world's opening up again. I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to keep myself safe. I'm going to keep my loved ones safe. But I'd like to go and do some new stuff. And we can all do it. It is possible.
It is so true, because I think I am a big believer. Like I said the other day, I'm a massive believer in exercise and pushing yourself, past that point your body thinks I'm going to give up, because obviously your pain threshold is up here, whereas our actual pain threshold is down here. So obviously we know our bodies are not going to break, so you can push yourself through that pain threshold, but it's about having the mindset to do that. And I think once you do it, you feel so much better, because it does give you a sense of control and it gives you a sense of purpose. But I think it's having the ability to do that and not give up. But like you say, don't do it. If you don't do it the first time, just do it again. You keep doing it until you do it.
It's interesting what you said about exercise, because we give an example on the Winning Edge, and we say you've just been out for a really long run and you've really pushed yourself on that run and you think you've got nothing left in the tank, and then you hear a Rottweiler on your heels. Man alive, would you find that extra 10% to get you home? Because you'd be like, ah! So, we can, it's mind over matter. It's, and we can do it. We can find it. But you need to have that strong enough desire. You need to have that belief, and that you want to do it enough.
Definitely. And I think people massively underestimate the breathing. People, if you're stressed, you can lose up to 80% of your sight and hearing. So I think just breathing brings that back down, or giving it distance, so you can actually use your peripheral vision and actually see what's going on around you. Because obviously when you get stressed, you're focused on that one thing, and everything becomes so big. It just becomes such a massive issue. And people, we see it in training all the time, people just forget to breathe, and it's that you can breathe now. You're going to pass out in a minute. You've not taken a breath in that 25 seconds. It is just little bits, isn't it? And picking up little bits and trying to find a way around it, I guess.
I always think when you're frightened and scared, and you feel stressed, I liken it to the doors. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, the doors in your brain. I've got an image and it's on Canva, and that is in my head. That is what I see, these doors. And all our ability to solve a problem, or even if we don't know the answer, our ability to be solution orientated is behind all those doors. And when our brain is in a negative state, when we're fearful, worried, anxious, all those doors slam shut and we can't have access to it. And we can't find the key in the fog. Because like I say, when you're stressed, everything there's fog, there's tunnel vision. We can't see the wood for the trees. Whereas if we, like I say, we just take a foot off the gas, we recognize we're feeling stressed. Okay, let's just remove ourselves emotionally from this and mentally for a moment. We process how we're feeling. We reframe. Perhaps we move ourselves away from it physically. Maybe, we literally move away, or emotionally we do something. We ring someone up, like I say, listen to music. Then we regain the control. To me, that fog disappears, and there are the keys on the floor, and you unlock the door. Oh, I think I can work this out, actually. And I gave this to my daughter as an example for her SATs, because I said to her just before exams, I said, you know how much work you've put in, don't you? She said, yeah. And she really hated her SATs, her tests. She filled herself with fear. Make sure I use the right language. It didn't fill her with fear. And I said to her, I told her the doors analogy, and she's repeated that back to me. She said, I remember the doors thing you told me, Mummy. It's true. And she said, I sat in there and I taught you, we did visualization to help her get ready for sitting in the classroom. And I said, you know, the classroom, you know how stinky it is with Dawson's shoes and and all this. And she used that, and she said, because this is, my dad first told me about it, my GCSEs. No, my A-levels, I tanked my mocks. And then he told me about visualization. I was like, oh my God, it's so powerful. And I said to her about the doors, and I said, everything you know is behind the doors. And even if there's a question and you think, I don't know the answer to that, your ability to answer it or find a solution, think about it, is behind the doors. But you need to keep calm and focused and in control. And then the keys are in the doors, and you open them, ta-da! And that's what I always think is really important, to recognise that ability is within us. Even if we don't know the answers, the ability to find them. But if we panic and are anxious, doors shut.
Yeah, it is massive. And it's quite interesting you talk about language there as well, because it is a big thing about choosing your language, isn't it? Like, I'm choosing to exercise. I don't have to exercise. You have the choice whether you exercise or not. But I'm choosing to do it because it makes you feel stronger and fitter and healthier.
Yeah, it goes. Sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was just going to say, it is massively linked to your mindset, isn't it? Because your language is powerful.
Well, it's all part of your self-talk, and your self-talk, so that's the way you talk about yourself to yourself. You know, we all, because if you've got a voice in your head, and if you're asking yourself, have I got a voice in my head? There's your voice. And you're lucky if you have just the one.
That.
Yeah, exactly. Have I got a voice in my head? That is your self-talk. And we are feeding our subconscious every single day, all the time, with our self-talk. And we're also, it's the way we describe ourselves to others. So if we're saying to other people, oh, I am dreadful at remembering names. I am so awful. I never remember names. That is going in there, and you're programming your brain. And your subconscious brain can't tell the difference between when you're self-deprecating, when you're being ironic, when you're being sarcastic. What you say takes it as read. So if you're constantly being really humble and going, oh no, I'm really not that clever. It was a fluke that I wrote that blog and you thought it was interesting, whatever. Oh, it's just a fluke. I knew the answer to that. Your brain's like, oh yeah, no, you're not really that clever, are you? Because you're just feeding it. And your kids hear the way you talk about yourself as well. It's really important. And so it's also, when you say I have to do something, it's that whole, like we said, the external locus of control. If you ever want to know where you want to be, look at your feet. It's exactly where you want to be. Because if you didn't want to be there, you'd be somewhere different, because it's all down to your values. It's all connected. So the personal responsibility, take responsibility. I am here because I choose to be here. We don't always like what we choose to do, but it goes back to your values. I choose to be here because this is high on my value chain. I want to be, or I choose to be, I want to be, rather than I have to be, I should be, I need to be. It's all of that. It's so connected. And when you program your brain with the good self-talk, it all goes in there. And it's all, the whole of it comes under mindset. All of it.
It does. Honestly, I could sit here talking to you all night. I keep looking at the time. I'm conscious of the time. But honestly, I could talk to you for hours, because I just think we are massively underestimate it. And I think it is something that, if you can get a quick fix and go to the doctors and get tablets, people would prefer to do that than actually thinking, hang on a minute, do I want to be pumping stuff into my body? There is a way around this. Yes, it's going to be hard work, but I can work on myself, and I can change my mindset, and I can deal with, you hear people with chronic pain that have been in pain for years, but once they channel their minds, it has amazing effects.
Yeah.
Any tablets could offer at all.
Yeah.
So could
Absolutely.
you just give us a little bit of a rundown of your Mindset Edge program?
Okay, so on the Winning Edge program, no, that's fine. So that we have the 5 fundamental areas. So we have success orientated attitudes. Then we have personal responsibility. You have your sense of purpose. You have your I've forgotten one now. That's hilarious. You have your self-image, which is something else. It's all hugely important, and it's how they all. We kind of work through the nature of your thinking. We work through about your sense of purpose. So it's what is it you want out of life? When you realise the power of your thinking, what is it you want out of life? Then it's really important to take personal responsibility for that. The have to, want to. What language are you using? So when you say to your child, I'm sorry I wasn't home to read you a story, I had to work. You didn't have to work. So isn't it really powerful and honest to yourself and them to say, I wanted to finish something off at work tonight, but I would really love to read your story tonight. So they understand that work's important to you. It's not more important than them, but in that moment, that's something you wanted to do. We talk about understanding and working with others. That's the one I didn't mention. So that's all about understanding everyone's different mental maps. So that's when we go into their values and beliefs, and you understand about judgments that you make about other people. And like, okay, so where's that coming from? What is that? Is what they're doing challenging your values? Why are you thinking like that? And then we also talk about self-image. And because if you have a poor self-image of yourself, you're going to be looking at poor self-talk, and your life will only be as good as your self-image is. So if you don't think you can achieve something, if you don't think you're worthy of achieving it, you're not going to do it. And the other TED talk I did is all about how you can reinvent yourself for success. So if you think everything you've done in the past was a massive mistake, or where you grew up is going to influence you, you can rewrite your script, because it's not true. You are who you think you are. So if you want to change, it all starts with this. So that's the premise. The whole thing is about mindset. It's about the quality of your thinking. The quality of your results in life will never exceed the quality of what's going on up here. So if you want better for yourself, if you want to change yourself, if you want to change your life, you can do it. It's all within your power. And stuff does happen to us that we don't choose. It really does. But over time, we can gradually work out our path forward.
That's brilliant. And what's your Facebook group called?
It's Winning Edge Mindset Game Changers. So there's the Winning Edge Mindset page, but then for loads of value, come into the Winning Edge Mindset Game Changers.
And if people want to hear more, what's your TEDx talks called?
Oh, so one is called Are You Worthy of Happiness? And that's with my dad and me and my daughter. And then the one that I did flying solo, which that was funny when you then do it on your own, is called How You Can Reinvent Yourself for Success.
Only because I'm going to make the kids dinner and then that's it. I'm listening to them.
Oh, bless you.
I want to say a massive thank you to you for being here. I do genuinely believe that mindset is massively underestimated, and I do think that it definitely needs to be looked at more, because I think sometimes when you talk about mindset, people see sort of yoga and meditation and things like that, but it's not always about that. It's obviously part of it, but I think it is drilling down and actually understanding why you think and why you behave the way you do.
That's exactly it. They definitely have their value in that they're that bit, I think, when I talk about reframing, about taking yourself away, reframing, doing something that helps you to reframe, doing something that can center you, that can help you to be calm, that can help you to be mindful of how you're feeling in that moment. But the work we do is about why. Why are you feeling like that? That you can change the nature of your thinking that will give you different results. So yeah, they definitely are really helpful in helping you to center, think about, okay, what am I doing right now? I need to reframe this. But yeah, mindset work, like you say, is really drilling down.
Perfect. Thank you so much for finding the time to come and speak to us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's just brilliant. I'm in the group. I'm watching, all the video. It's just brilliant. I think it's so. What you do gives such value to parents. It's brilliant, and as a parent, I really value it. So I feel honoured you've asked me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.